Hey guys, for you it's been a week, for me it's been like 2 minutes. Um, Today we're going to talk about the mother figures with Wagner. As we know, there's not one biological mother with Wagner, so we're going to talk about the nurses, we're going to talk about, well, the stepmother. In it all. And yeah, well, simply because in most of the time, and as we all know, the ring's always the one out, because the ring is basically based on the concept of threes. You always have the perfect three and slash, or we have the imperfect four, but it's more of a 3+1 situation where we, for example, have Wotan, Fro, and Donna plus Loge. Loge is not really a part of them. So we have the 3+1. But mostly we have the threes in the ring, and in everything else we have 2 or 1 women. So there's mostly not even space for a mother or a mother figure. So again, they're not even really talked about that much. Oh yes, we have one mother. Almost forgot that, Erda. We have her, who has a great connection to her daughter, which is none. This is why I forgot her. Anyway, so we're starting off with the Flying Dutchman, again, because we always go in order. So in the Flying Dutchman, we have Mary as the nurse of Senta, and they have this mother-daughter bond, because I think, and this is just what I assume, because it's never mentioned, that probably Senta's mother has been out of the picture for a long time, probably dead. So Mary was the one who, well, who brought her up, basically. Let's just stay with this. And Mary kind of guides Senta in the way that she wants. And if you remember last week, which for me was an hour ago, then I said that Daland either doesn't really care about the connection of Senta to Erik, or that he just doesn't see it. With Mary, it's the complete opposite. Obviously, the big difference between her and Daland is that Daland's almost never there, and Mary is the caregiver for Senta most of the time. So she knows what's going on, basically. Mary very much supports the connection between Senta and Erik. Also, and this is again just a thought, also based on the production that I saw and the production that we talked about, which was, if you remember, that Mary knows very well who the Dutchman is and that she met him before at one point or another. So you could argue, obviously, that Mary wants Senta to marry Erik as soon as possible, because she knows when the Dutchman will be on land the next time, which is why she doesn't sing the song on this particular day. This particular day, out of 7 years, with 365 to 366 days each. And she doesn't want to sing the song on this particular day. I mean, there is something. But Wagner saying that he wants the main person to sing the song. But still, there is something. And that she maybe, just a thought, thinks that if the Dutchman came on land and Senta saw him with the infatuation that she has for the Dutchman, that she could either be his angel or that she could be killed through the Dutchman by being not faithful to him, aka Erik. And she was right. But otherwise, Mary's actually a very, very good mother figure, because she cares so much for Senta. But again, there's very much, as we had with Heinrich den Vogler in Lohengrin, very much emphasis on which production that we have. Either we have the thing that she's just the nurse, and she just doesn't want to sing this song in front of the others because she doesn't want to seem like someone who believes in this stuff. Or we have her not wanting to sing this song on this particular day because she knows it's the day when the Dutchman arrives. But all in all, I think Mary cares for Senta very much, and she wants what's best for her, and maybe she recognizes this infatuation that Senta has for the Dutchman from herself, and she wants to protect her from that. So Mary is a very, very good mother figure. Yay! Wonderful, we're starting off better than last week. It's great. So Tannhäuser, we don't have a mother figure, because as we said, this is why I said this in the beginning, we mostly have just two figures, and either they're like the antagonist and the protagonist, like it is in Tannhäuser, or we could have possibly this mother-daughter or mother-son bond. Just saying. So Tannhäuser's out because there's no mother figure. Then we have Lohengrin, and let's say it like this. They are protagonist and antagonist, but especially like in the middle of the second act, when Elsa bids Ortrud to go inside with her, Ortrud behaves very, very motherly. She's not a mother figure, she's not what we would deem that. We don't count her as such, but she behaves very motherly in this moment because it gets her where she wants to be, which is that Elsa asks Lohengrin who he is and where he came from. So she comes in this kind of motherly, oh yeah, let me help you, I will guide you, da, 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 da. So she comes through this motherly form, kind of. She shapes herself into that. Again, production based. Either we have the thing that Lohengrin is this holy figure, then of course Ortrud's completely out of line and she's lying and she's deceiving and she's horrible and she just wants the worst for Elsa. Or Lohengrin is an ass. That's what it is. And Ortrud's the only one who sees through that, and then she's actually concerned about what is going on with Elsa. So we have those two things. But I wouldn't really call her a mother figure, at least not in the conventional way. So next one, Tristan and Isolde. We have Brangäne, who is, again, she's not, is she? No, she's not a nurse. No, she's not a nurse. So we have Brangäne, who looks out for Isolde and who wants the best for her, and who does not want her to die, but to want her to protect and to shield her, and who is the only one who sees clearly, especially in the second act. Well, let's say it like this. In the original, Brangäne is Isolde's niece, so we would more have that Isolde is more of a mother figure to Brangäne than the other way around. Conventionally, it's really more that Brangäne is the mother figure and cares for Isolde, because we know what we know about Isolde's mother is that Isolde's actual mother is that she's very good with potions and stuff, and that she is, well, what we would call a doctor today. She knows a lot about this stuff and looked out for Isolde, and she kind of has Brangäne going with Isolde to take the queen's place, in order to like give the love potion for Marke and Tristan, Marke and Isolde to fall in love with each other on their wedding night and stuff like that. So Brangäne, she really does her best, but she is kind of, due to the nature of Tristan and Isolde, which is a very, very Tristan and Isolde centered, there's almost nothing else in this. There's not really that much going on except for Tristan and Isolde. So Brangäne is kind of forced into this passive role, and into this, she has to ask stuff for Isolde to explain stuff for the audience, which is of course going on a lot in the ring. If you see Waltraute, if you see the Norns, etc. Mime and the Wanderer also, they kind of explain what's been going on. So this is also what kind of Brangene's reason for being is, that she has to ask Isolde, yeah, but why don't you like him? Oh, he was that guy, but why? But nee. So this is kind of Brangene's role in this, and I feel sad for her in a way, because I think she would be a great role, but she's forced into this passive persona, basically. But again, Brangene cares for Isolde. She wants to protect her. She doesn't want her to fail. She doesn't want her to have anything bad happen to her. It's really so much better with the mother figures. What does he have with fathers? Anyway, so this was Brangene. Also, the mother figures have almost never something to do with the guys. Do you know what I mean? Because with the father figures, we had both father figures for girls and for boys, but in this case, it's almost exclusively girls. Until we come to Parsifal. Okay, Meistersinger von Nürnberg. Again, we have a nurse. We have Magdalena as the nurse, who, of course, again, she is. I'm kind of feeling so sorry for the nurses, because the fathers are so versatile, except for the thing that they all want to sell off their daughters one way or another. But the nurses are really, really, really similar. And again, since Magdalena is the nurse and it's very Walter and Eva centric, she gets more into this passive role. She has a much more active part in her being the second couple, the fun couple, the comical couple with David. So with Eva, it's really very conventional. She looks out for her. She wants to help her. She gives advice. All in all, much more active. She also, and this is the big scene, the one I think where every mezzo-soprano is kind of sad for being a mezzo-soprano, because I think a proper mezzo-soprano would want to go into the crowd to hit other people, like in the Prügelfuge at the end of the second act. If I look at my singing teacher, she's a mezzo-soprano. Yeah, she would not be seated on the balcony. She would go down and she would hit those guys. Anyway, so she's much more an accomplice. She's not that much of a mother figure. She's more of a friend to Ava. And now we come to the perhaps slightly problematic part. And this is where I say I don't know so much about the Middle Ages. So what I don't know is that since David is the boy of Hans Sachs, if that means that David is from Nuremberg, or that means that he was brought up in some city around Nuremberg, some village, I don't know, and that he just came to Nuremberg to learn from Hans Sachs. And here comes the thing that why I say this. If David is from Nuremberg and he is brought up there, and Magdalena is the nurse and she's much older than him, then she's also referred to as the old one at one point. Then we would have a similar situation than we have like we have with Hans Sachs and Eva, that we say he carried her around and he saw her. Yeah, you know what I mean. Which is kind of, did we want to go there? No. I hope, for the sake of my favorite love story with Wagner, that it's a case of he grew up in a village, and then when he was a young man, already was when he was a young man, he met Magdalene for the first time. So we also have this kind of mother figure in Magdalene for David, because we're gonna go into the text now because I love this yada yada yada. Because we have got this beautiful love song, which is wonderful, and I don't need a Tristan, I just need a David, I just say it. For example, he says, she's so good, so tender for me, and she often looks at me so, well, also lovingly. And when you hit me, and he's saying that to Ansax, when you hit me, she caresses me, and she smiles at me completely sweetly. And if you don't give me to eat, she gives me to eat, and she's lovely in everything she does. So in the dynamic that they have of her feeding him, of her caressing him when he's been hit, she kind of has this motherly thing going on, which is, it's not as bad as with Hans Sachs and Eva, but you could say that we're here in between wife material and mother material, if you get what I mean, like, but it checks a lot of boxes of motherhood, that she's saying she caresses him and that she feeds him and everything. And well, we could argue if that's the true kind of love, caring for one another, or if you would prefer something like, what do we have, Brünnhilde and Siegfried, which is much more passion but not that much caring about each other. I know what my personal favorite is, and since I already said that I would prefer David to a Tristan, you know which side I am on, because I think caring is much more lasting than passion, personally. But how would I know, on the other hand? So caring is this motherly feature, but we don't see her as this mother figure for David in the way that we see Hans Sachs as a father figure for Eva. It's a bit concerning if we look at it saying he was brought up in Nuremberg and she saw him as a baby and carried him around, whatever. Then it's like, okay, thank you. But otherwise, it's much more healthy. And I want to be quite clear. This much of an age gap is weird and unnatural with men and women, as well as women and men. So weirdness is a thing with Hans Sachs and Eva, as well as with Magdalena and David, in some way, shape or form. Just saying. Just thinking of the French president now, because this is also weird. We have kind of the same age gap here. Just saying that. This is never really brought up on stage. But, yeah. Just saying that. Okay, now we have the ring. And again, now we have 3 people. 3 women per thing, or more. Even if we count the Valkyries. But normally it comes in 3s. We have we have Fricka, Erda and Freya in the first one. Then in the second one we have Sieglinde, Fricka and Brünnhilde. In the third one we have Brünnhilde, Erda and the bird. And then we have Gudrune, Brünnhilde and Waltraute. So we have much bigger range for mother figures than we normally have. But not in the Rheingold. Because in the Rheingold, again, it's the first generation. There's not that much to say about that. But when we go into the Valkyrie, we obviously have Fricka as the main one. We could argue that Sieglinde, she is a mother, she will be a mother, But since she doesn't see her son growing up, there's not really that much to talk about. But obviously, and that's the great thing, she originally, after Siegmund's death, she wants to die. But when she hears about her son and that she's pregnant, then she decides, no, I'm going to live. I'm going to live for my son. And I'm going to do everything to help him and to care for him and to make him come into this world safely. Which, again, considering that it's May, never forget that. The Valkyrie is set in May. So she conceives in May. So she is heavily pregnant throughout the winter, and she will probably have a child in February, which is horrible. Consider that you have no one with you, and you're, well, massive, you're pregnant, and you have to be alone in the woods in the middle of winter. Horror, just saying. And this is what she does, and she's a mother figure, and she's a great one at that. Even though she never really gets to know his son, unfortunately, because she could have taught him something about not drinking from someone strange without them drinking first. Just saying. Could have helped him. Go to them home, for example. So, then we of course have Fricka, who is, well, she is a mother figure in the sense of she's married to a father. So she is this stepmother figure to Brünnhilde and to the Valkyries, and she absolutely hates them. And what I found very, very interesting was what Deborah Voigt, who was Brünnhilde in this wonderful production of 2010 to 2012, what they recorded in New York. And she says, Brünnhilde has never known love. Where would she have got it from? She's completely overwhelmed by her love for Siegmund, and she didn't really know it before, because where would she have known it from? She herself is not allowed to know it because she's a Valkyrie. And from Wotan and Fricka, no. Why would she know what love is? I thought that was very interesting, what Madame Voigt said there. So obviously we have the situation that Wotan had all these daughters, and he gave them to Fricka as this kind of present. I mean, normally guys give women jewelry when they've done something like that. He gave her the daughters, which means that they that the Valkyries are in kind of a predicament, because they are Wotan's will, but at the same time they are the property of Fricka. But she doesn't really have the power over them, because Wotan constantly overrides her. So she's very, very frustrated. And just think of it when you say, you're married to this guy who you love. I think Fricka loves Wotan. I'm very, very sure. And you have to live with this guy, and you don't have any children of your own at this point. Valentin Schwarz, the director of the current production of The Ring in Bayreuth, he said that Fricka is not able to have children. So it's even worse. She is not able to have children, she wants to have children, and her husband has lots of it. And she's reminded of her childlessness every day, which is, I think, a horrible situation for her. So she deeply hates Brünnhilde from the bottom of her heart, and not only her, but all his children. And she wants to have Siegmund dead because she can, basically, if I can say it like this. Because normally she wouldn't get close to them, because Wotan shields them all. But with the infidelity and with the adultery, they are finally somewhere, they are in her playing field. She can get them now, due to the law and order, which again Wotan doesn't care about, and neither does Siegmund. But now finally she can get the revenge that she has sought for so many centuries. And I think that Fricka is possibly one of the most misunderstood characters, because she's right. I'm so sorry about that, but she's right. And about possibly the whole twincest thing, like, shouldn't happen. And just because Wotan's plan didn't work as planned, yeah, that's not her fault. But I think she's been overridden so much, so much in all the centuries that she has been with Wotan, that she is really happy about every dig that she can get at him. And this is, by the way, not to confuse with the actual sagas and the actual myths and the actual god and goddess Wotan and Fricka, because they have an open relationship and they are quite happy about that, which I think is weird, but well, they're gods. And I suppose over centuries you cannot really have your marriage closed. Some people cannot even get that for like 2 years and they want to open their marriage, so what do they do for centuries? But never mind. And I think this is a horrible situation for Fricka, and she just wants something. She wants to hurt him some way, the way that he's hurt her by bringing the children he got out of wedlock to her and giving them to her, and she having to bring them up while knowing that she either cannot have children, or if we go to the mythological stuff, that her 2 sons are dead. Which is a completely different story, but still. Okay. Yeah, Sieglinde and Fricka. Then we have in Siegfried, we have the next motherly role, the next mother figure, aka the only real biological mother that we have, who is Erda, Brünnhilde's mother, but they never meet. And that's kind of the thing. So it's really nothing to talk about. I mean, Erda tries to protect Brünnhilde as good as she can while also being asleep all the time. But since they never meet as far as we can see, it's really kind of forgettable, I would almost say. So Erda is Brünnhilde's mother, and there's really not that much to it. Wotan was the father, and he was supposed to care for her, and this is all. So, then we have Götterdämmerung. We don't have a mother in Götterdämmerung. We have a sister, and you know what? I always think, based on what we see, this is my personal opinion, that Waltraud is kind of the eldest daughter or the elder sister, and Brünnhilde is the youngest. So I have this feeling, so kind of Waltraud leads her through it. And yes, Waltraud also gets kind of enchanted by the ring, but her primary desire was for Brünnhilde to give the ring away so that they could all be saved. Which is, I think, a good cause. Yeah. Great. And kind of Waltraud cares for Brünnhilde in this way, but she is getting distracted by the ring. And Brünnhilde also is enchanted by the ring. Obviously, so they don't get into common ground. But the initial thing that Waltraud had was to protect her family and to protect Brünnhilde in a way so that everything could turn out well. Yeah. But, well, she has fallen to the magic of the ring. So, only one left. Great, isn't it? So Parsifal, only one woman role, but she kind of takes on this mother figure, this being, for Parsifal. I personally think that there are a lot of Wagnerian heroes who have a mother complex one way or another, but I think that obviously Kundry wants to manipulate Parsifal and she wants to make him vulnerable, so she takes on to that motherly role in that way, just like Ortrud did, where we are again in this kind of Jewish knight figure realm, that they only play mother figures to make people vulnerable and to get them where they want them to be and to manipulate them, kind of. Yeah, Venus doesn't do that. She's the third Jewish knight figure, but she doesn't really do that, so I'm gonna leave Venus out of it. But Kundry purely does that to manipulate, as does Ortrud. So she does take on this motherly role, but at the same time she is a seducer. She wants to seduce Parsifal, obviously, because she's an nymphomaniac. Why not? And yeah, so they are kind of the two bad motherly figures, along with Fricka, obviously. But can we even say that Fricka is a mother figure, because she doesn't take on this role and no one sees her in that role? You get what I mean? Like, for the others, there's at least some mother-daughter slash mother-son connection. But like for Fricka, she doesn't want to be their mother, they want her to be their mother. But I took her in anyway because she has more of that biological slash law bond by being their stepmother. Anyway, so Kundry also is a mother to manipulate. So I would personally say that if we leave Fricka out, which we will for now, I think she's very important as a mother figure, but she shouldn't be in the ranking because she doesn't see herself as that and they don't see her as that. So I would definitely say that Ortrud and Kundry are the worst mother figures, because again, they only take on this role to make the other person vulnerable, Elsa or Parsifal, and to manipulate them into doing what they want. In terms of best mother figure, honestly, we have a lot to choose from, but I would almost say, although she died while giving birth to Siegfried, that Sieglinde is the best mother, because no mother went to such lengths for her child, than Sieglinde did for hers. I think Sieglinde is one of the most underrated characters, and we're probably next week going to talk about heroes, if I remember. Heroes and heroines, and Sieglinde is definitely in there. She's very, very underrated, but she's so strong. She's always been alone, and she takes on this massive responsibility to have the biggest hero of the world underneath her heart. Again, Sieglinde, I think, takes the cake on this. Then maybe Brünnhilde, I would say, on second place, because she cares for Isolde enough to disobey her and to give her the love potion instead of the death potion. So I would say Brünnhilde is there. And then there's kind of the nurses on third place, with Mary and Magdalene, because they care and protect their daughters quite a bit and want the best for them. Maybe Mary also a bit in her own favor, but well, we don't know. It's production based, as we always say. thank you so much for coming with me on this much lighter journey than, well, an hour ago, last week, with the mother figures than with the father figures. Thank you so much for listening. Have a nice day. Bye.